which we actually know a local standard nationwide. So buckle up. So yes, this did come out of Houston. An officer pulled over an individual for not paying his tolls, which we actually know a local lawyer who was arrested for that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
HOV.
So it happens to the best of us, I suppose. He did not pay his tolls. Officer pulled him over. During the course of the encounter, the individual who was the suspect reached over to put his car in gear to take off running away from the officer. Officer saw this. Officer engaged by throwing himself sort of on into the vehicle. Car moves. Officer says, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Car's moving. I'm hanging off a moving car." Shoots and kills the suspect. Now, civil suit from the family follows.
Yeah, and so, if we were looking at a criminal case, we'd look at the justified use of force laws under your state. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. And there is a little bit
Everybody's going to be a little different.
Comes to what are called Section 1983 claims. These are deprivation of rights claims. And that's where the civil suit comes from. And the big kind of bugaboo with all those, and we talked to lots of people, and I'm sure maybe you're one of these people like, hey, look, cops violated my rights, I want to sue them. Mm-hmm. There's this huge kind of downward pressure on those lawsuits for what we call qualified immunity.
Yes.
And so basically the government has to agree to be sued, and they've kind of created this criteria where, all right, if you check these boxes, we'll allow you to sue us for this, but outside of that, you are so out of luck, Jack. And so really what we're looking at in this specific case in Houston is, hey, look, is this a violation of the Fourth Amendment? And so there's, just to give you a little idea, like here's the standard the court's going to look at. Did the officer violate a constitutional right? That right, was it clearly established at the time of the incident, meaning a reasonable officer would have known the conduct was unlawful under legal precedent? So for generally qualified immunity is going to shield these officers in these use of force cases, in these Section 1983 cases, unless we meet both of those conditions. And so really this hinges on a little bit of reasonableness, but we have a split here with two different standards, and this is where I think the controversy lies.
Yes. So even to back up just a moment, because lots of people have had their rights violated by the police. Lots of you. In fact, we hear from people all the time, like, hey, I was detained and then I wasn't who they thought I was. And so then I got released and I want to sue them. My rights were violated. Were your rights violated? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your person should not have been seized. However, it's that portion that really gets people, which is, it's not written as a malice standard. It's basically a malice standard, right? Because the officer has to know that they're breaking the law by doing what they did to you. So that is almost never found. And frankly, just for those of you who are like, aha, but my case actually has that too. The other thing you need is damages. So like just being temporarily detained when you shouldn't have been. What are your damages, right? So, there's lots of hoops to jump through. But yes, so let's say you have this shooting, you have a death case. There's definite damages. There's definite deprivation of a constitutional right. And we have this issue at play now, which the courts are split on, to get back to Richard's toss off to me there. And that's how we get the United States Supreme Court hearing this case, because the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't hear very many cases.
Yeah, we'll throw the style of the case up now, just so everybody can see it.
Yes, this is Barnes versus Felix. It's, of course, very, very rare a case gets up to the Supreme Court. They don't hear a heck of a lot of 1983 cases.
No.
But this is the split. We have circuits on one side, and that's going to be the Fifth Circuit, Second Circuit, Fourth Circuit, Eighth Circuit, who say, when you evaluate, because what we're doing is we're cramming in use of force into this qualified immunity standard. We're sort of evaluating it through a different lens than we would if it were a typical criminal use of force case. So what they're saying is when we look at these, we do a moment of threat analysis. So in that one specific moment that the officer had to pull the trigger, was he reasonable in believing that his life was threatened? Which, okay. But we have all these other circuits with a different standard.
Yeah, so
It's interesting. Because are we not free? Is this Nazi America? Stop and show me your papers. these pigs are not trained on this law that we're supposed to obey by. So much for the Constitution, so much for human rights. Especially police. They're just trained to create crimes out of everything and anything when there is no actual crime being committed. Policies and statutes, city ordinances, are not laws, for one. And two, all these laws we have in place are all man-made. What is it to commit a crime? Who was injured? What property was damaged? Again, what does it mean to be free?